What are you worth? Everything that we do in this world has to be earned.
Only thing that's stopping you from making your dreams become a reality is you. You gotta have a desire. Like for real, the first thing you gotta have, if you wanna be what you wanna be, have what you wanna have, do what you wanna do, man, you gotta have that desire. You gotta have a hunger.
Our biggest challenge is beginning to look at within ourselves to remove those energy blocks, because if we are not producing the income that we want, let us not look outside of ourselves, but look within ourselves to find out, how am I blocking me? Am I really giving it all that I have? Am I really being as creative as I can be? Am I really unstoppable? Am I as relentless as I can be? Am I exhausting every means possible? Am I turning up every rock to find what it is that I'm looking for? Everything that exists in life, the microphones that we're speaking in, the shoes that we have on our feet, the chairs that we're sitting in, the clothes that we're wearing, the homes that we live in, the cars that we drive, all of that came out of our consciousness. That all came out of the invisible into the visible. And man was the vehicle, the outlet to produce that. Wherever we are stopped in our dream, we stop to the place called willingness. Anybody that's fallen short of their goals, they ran into something that they were not willing to handle. Because in order to reach your dream, in order to make things happen, there must be a willingness to do what is required. That men and women are limited not by the place of their birth, not by the color of their skin, but by the size of their hope. What is the size of your hope? As we begin to look at what it is we want to produce in our lives, I think another question could be asked: what is the size of our commitment to make it happen? See, when you ask people to become a no matter what person, something inside of them begins to tremble, because of the fact that we aren't accustomed to saying, I'm going to make this happen. Most people won't do that. Won't take that kind of stand and saying, I'm going to make this happen no matter what. Most people won't do that. That takes energy. That takes conviction. That takes a determination and a mindset. I'm going to do this. And I say that once you make the commitment, once you make a commitment, providence moves too. All kinds of things happen that never would have happened. A whole stream of things happen that you could never anticipate it.
Have you worked for it? Have you persevered and pushed yourself beyond the limits that you are at right now? Or have you continued down that path of excuses? Have you allowed yourself to say, I'll do okay, or I'll be all right, or I'm not worried about what other people think? Yes, you do. We all worry about what other people think from time to time. You should be concerned about what people think of you. You're not the only one living in this world, but you don't necessarily have to make what other people think about you put you in a bed of misery. But if you truly are trying to excel, if you truly are trying to go to another level in your life, then you got to know your worth. But you got to be worthy of your worth.
Some of you are not successful because you still got some stuff that you need to let go of. You're trying to blow up. You're trying to get to the next level without giving up. Listen to me, you're trying to get to the next level while you hold on to stuff. And what I need you to do me is a big favor. Listen to me. This is the most important thing I probably told you all year. Everything in your life that's keeping you from doing and being what you want to be, I need you to write it down. Listen to me, I need you to write it down. Procrastination, I need you to write it down. Listen to me. Bad attitude, I need you to write it down. You're in a gang, I need you to write it down. Right? You don't know how to manage your money. I need you to write it down. Listen to me. I want you to get so deep that I want you to write down the stuff that you're ashamed of. Maybe you committed adultery this year. Maybe you stole something this year. Listen to me. I don't know how bad it got for you, but I want you to write down all the things you're not proud of. I want you to write down every single thing in your life that you're not proud of, that you did this year, that you know was a change, that you know that was your personal change. Listen to me, I'm not talking about what was done to you. I'm not talking about what people said to you. I'm not talking about what did. things people did to bring you down. I don't care. Procrastination, write it down. I don't care what it is, write it down. You're lazy. You have a spirit of apathy. You're lethargic. I don't know what it is. I dare you to write it down. I dare you to write everything down. And this is what I want you to do. When you write it down, on the other side, I want you to write down everything you want. I'm telling you, you can't get to the next level in your life if you got some stuff you holding on to. You gotta write it all down, all the negative, everything you're ashamed of, every dark secret in your closet, everything that you don't want to talk about, that you don't want to deal with, that you don't want to be real about, that thing that's holding you back and you're ashamed to talk about it. I dare you to write it down.
How much value do you give yourself? Do you allow other people to control your destiny? Do you put yourself in a position where you do not understand the significance of what your worth is? You have to understand in life, your goal is to move forward. And you shouldn't be wanting to settle for just anything. But you got to earn your worth.
I want you to look at yourself and I want you to say to yourself, I'm sorry. I want you to apologize when you didn't go to class on time, when you made excuses for why you didn't blow up, when you made excuses for why you didn't finish that paper, when you made excuses for why you needed to cheat on your husband or cheat on your wife, when you made excuses for why you lie. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and everything you write down, I want you to look at it and I want you to tell yourself, I'm sorry. Tell yourself, I let self down, but I won't let it happen again.
There are a lot of people in the world that want the easy way. There are a lot of people that want that now opportunity, but you gotta be willing to work. You got to be willing to work for what it is you want, but you gotta know your worth. But are you really worth what you're asking? You wanna get to a certain level in your life, but are you worth to get to it? If you're not putting in the work, if you're not putting something out there, if you're not showing something, if you're not putting anything out that's going to show the world, even show yourself that you have made something better than what you were yesterday of yourself, then you're just sitting there wishing for something to happen or expecting someone to give you something because you think you earned it. You can't earn anything without work. Everything that we do in this world has to be earned. So if you truly believe in your worth, if you're feeling in your heart that you're worth something, then show up. Show up and do something about it. Make sure that your worth is worthy so that others can see it, so you can see it. And then you gotta most importantly believe in it. But don't expect handouts. Don't expect someone to just hand you something. You don't deserve to get handed anything. Everything you do in this life that you have been given, you got to earn it.
Only you know what you want. Listen to me. Only you know what you are capable of doing. Only you know what you dream about. Only you know what the next level is for you. So number one, you got to hear it all year. I've been trying to get this one message across all year. You got to want it. You got to want it. There's got to be a desire. There's got to be something within you that burns. You got to stop waiting for that lottery ticket. You got to stop waiting for that fortune teller. You got to stop waiting for your circumstance to change, and you got to change the circumstance. You got to stop saying that something's going to happen, that something's going to change, that something miraculously is going to take place in my life that's going to put me where I want to be. Is not going to happen. But every day you wake up, every day you get up, you got an opportunity. Every day you wake up. I'm trying to let you know what I've been trying to say is that the person, your fortune teller is you. Listen to me, at the end of that lottery ticket, it's you. Yep, you could be a millionaire. Yep, you could be a billionaire. I don't know what you want to be or what you want to do, but I'm telling you, you can do it. But you got to understand that the person that's going to help you is the person that's the end of your arms, your hand. It's you. You have what it takes mentally. You have what it takes physically. You got the heart. You got everything it takes to make it happen. So you got to stop waiting for circumstances.
You've thrown big ideas at small people.
If you're stuck in a story. That's where you're stuck.
If you're really striving for something, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really hard. And it's going to force you to adapt and grow and become a better version of yourself. And that can be the single most beautiful process of your life if it's aimed at something you care about.
They're gonna miss it. they're going to miss the greatest part of you, the greatest part of your destiny, the greatest part of your creativity. It took everything you went through yesterday to get you ready for what you are about to do today. You are standing on the verge of a great awakening, or you wouldn't be here.
You are living. You are breathing. You are alive. And you got work to do. Work ain't supposed to be easy. Work is work. Life is life. How you go about doing things that's going to make you better depends on you. Now you're sitting around waiting for someone to save you. Get over yourself. No one can save you. Save yourself from excuses. Save yourself from giving yourself less credit of your greatness. Do you realize that when you were born for greatness? And even if you have a problem, even if there's some things that are happening in your life right now, greatness belongs to you.
The problem is not about doing it, it is why you do it.
There's all kinds of stories we tell ourselves that don't serve us anymore. This is critical. When you get tired, when you get fatigued, when you get down, when you're in a slump, it's your habits, rituals, routines, and your standards that carry you through. And if you don't have good habits, you don't have good rituals, you don't have good routines, always in your life you will fall down in bad times, in slumps and fatigue and in stress.
You have to live in your own world. You cannot judge yourself. That's why social media and all these things are horrible. You can't judge yourself off of the so-called competition that we have made up in our mind. The things that, how people look, how people act, how smart someone is. This is a race that you run completely alone.
When you speak with conviction, when you speak strategically and tell the story of why you said yes, tell the story on how you saw this opening up the door for a new life for yourself. Is it easy? Of course it's not easy. It's challenging. It requires patience. It requires persistence. It requires a willingness to do whatever is required to create a new life for yourself.
Identity is the governor on our lives. It's the invisible force that no one understands, and once they do understand and get a hold of it, their life can change. And so, not only if you don't get a hold of this, will these outward conditions of your life keep being exactly the same, but you could behave differently, you could do all the working out, you could be thinking great thoughts, but you are going to get out of your life, you're going to be the most powerful force in the world, I think, is to be consistent with the concepts, ideas, and worth that you hold for yourself. You will get that out of your life, what you will tolerate.
How you address it is you face it. You face it every day. You face it every single day of your life.
If you do what is easy, always looking for a way to give yourself a pass, to let yourself off the hook, to do what everybody else is doing, a job, the journey of the broke. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. You can walk outside and find pigeons, but if you're looking for eagles, it's going to take you a minute. You are different. It's lonely at the top.
There's always room for the best. And if you're prepared to become the best, you can become unstoppable. You can build something other people think is impossible. You can build something out from under a mountain of doubt.
I think there's a different level for you. I think there's a different level for you to get obsessed, crazy, laser focused. I say all the time, our obsessions become our possessions, but we won't possess them if we're not truly obsessed. When you're laser obsessed focused, your obsession distracts you from what you're currently doing, not the other way around. You're not really obsessed with it if you're easily distracted from it. This is so important. You right now can test whether it's your obsession with whether it distracts you constantly. The first thing you think of when you wake up, last thing before you go to bed. When you have a big laugh, it comes up. When you cry, it comes up. When you're watching TV, it comes up. When you're doing your regular job, but it's your side hustle, it comes up. You can't stop thinking about it. It distracts you from the rest of your life. That's what an obsession does. When it's not really your obsession, the rest of your life distracts you from it. Your mind gravitates towards which it is most familiar with. And so if you're really familiar with what you're worried about and what your problems are and your fears are, and that becomes your dominating thinking, I know you've all heard this, but here's the reason why. Your mind loves what's familiar. the groundwork of beginning to build self-confidence is to begin to keep the promises you make to you. And that's why it's important to begin to even make small promises. If you're going to get up at a certain time in the morning, not only do it, but then give yourself credit. Say, I did what I said I was going to do. If it's in your diet or your fitness, don't just eat the healthy foods. Go, I'm doing what I said I was going to do. You begin to build this reputation. If you're constantly being influenced and moved by what other people think about you, it means there's a deficiency in what you think about you. And so the key is not some, esoteric like belief system. It's a pattern of keeping the promises that you make to you. That's the groundwork of self-confidence for sure. The number one addiction in the world today is the addiction to other people's approval. And that's because we don't approve of ourselves. We don't feel a spirit, a universe, a God that we believe in that approves of us. And so my confidence comes from both my faith and in the fact that I keep promises I make to myself. That's the groundwork of all confidence.
There's a story you're telling yourself that doesn't serve you anymore. And you have to evaluate what that story is. What you need to do is you need to alter your associations. You need to do something in a short window of time, no question about it. You definitely need to evaluate what is no longer needed and evaluate the story you're telling yourself.
Number one problem in the world today is people say, I'm going to delay my happiness until a future time. Once I get that relationship, then I'll let myself be happy. Once I have the house, then I'll be happy. Once I have the car, then I'll be happy. Once I have the promotion, I'll be happy. Once I have a certain amount of money, then I'll be happy. The problem is you have to bring you to all those places. And people think if I let myself enjoy my life right now, I might lose my edge. The athletes I coach think that all the time. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, if you don't enjoy the victories as you go, your brain doesn't produce any dopamine, and you actually lose the desire to continue to perform. There's a direct correlation between celebrating your wins and wanting to do more of them.
Don't let anyone tell you anything different. Because when you hold it in, it can become toxic. When you hold it in, you can put yourself in a position where you're so built up on things and then immediately you want to release it, but you release it for the wrong reasons. So sometimes you need to cry. Sometimes you just got to let it out. So don't hold back your tears, my beautiful people. You are a beautiful person. You are a beautiful human being. And it's okay to cry. I say this to my men, I say this to my women, and even the children out there. We have to cry sometimes, but wipe those tears and keep living on strong.
Life demands that you pick up the pace. If you don't pick up the pace, you're going to be left behind. I'm amazed at the people that lack the flexibility to pick up the pace. I'm telling you right now, if you are going to birth your dream, your calling, your passion, and the second half of your life, you can't draw back when life gets tough. You've got to stand up to it and push. One of the most amazing things about the disaster at Malaysia is that when it happened, everybody had to pick up the pace.
We don't come pre-programmed. We come ready to adapt. We come ready to change. We come ready to grow. And once you know that that is the nature of being a human, that that is the beautiful gift of this life, is to see how much you can grow in whatever direction you want, towards whatever end you want. But the gift that you have been given is the ability to change. So if you don't like who you are today, that's okay. It doesn't matter who you are today. It only matters who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there.
There's something that you could do, that you could think in your life that would radically change your life. Somebody could take the hand you've been dealt and win with it. Same circumstances, same ideas. They would do it through what they thought about your life. Because we got you.
To be great, you got to do great things. To be great, you got to be passionate. You got to be driven. You got to be hungry. And you got to conduct your business. Ladies and gentlemen, get it done. Focus on your purpose and keep it moving.
Here's all you have to do. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I understood that philosophy, it totally changed my life. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is fantastic. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune, which is super famous. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become, by becoming an attractive person.
Never be satisfied with yourself. Always know that as you invest the effort and time on you, that's the greatest ability that human beings have above animals. See, a dog can't be anything but a dog. Tree can't be anything but a tree. Human being, you've got unlimited potential. You can put effort on you, and by concentrating on you and developing you, you can transform your life wherever you are right now. So you want to work on yourself.
My dreams are first every day, then my wife, then my kids. I can take care of my wife and my kids now, would you agree? I abandoned this. This is the fuel for who I am. I abandoned this dream, and then I can't take care of them. And then I'm going to tell them what? It's all right that you didn't win. No, it's not all right if you don't win. You need to win. How many of you need to win more? Okay? If you don't control your environment, folks, somebody else is going to control your environment. You guys that run teams and run organizations, if you do not control your environment, someone else will control your environment. You are being controlled in your environment right now. If you don't control your environment, it starts with me. When I was 45 years old, I'm like, I'm going to control my environment. I'm going to take every penny I have, all the energy I have, all the resources I have, and I'm going to improve me. If I got to go broke in the process, because I'm already broke. Look, if you're not fulfilled if you're not reaching your full potential every day, you're broke right now.
If you find your passion, you're going to have this tremendous energy. It's sustainable energy. But momentum requires you always do the next thing to keep the momentum going.
If you believe in what you're doing, that's fuel. It adds more fuel to your fire. You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing through. You got to keep persevering. Because at the end of the day, when you do, and you do, and you do more, you will be amazed at how the universe conspires to help you get to the place that you wanted to get to. So believe in you, block out the shade, and let your sun shine on through. Because it's on you to be you.
And the reason you get yourself in a passionate place is so that you change your life, and the only thing that changes your life is making a decision. So while you're in this passionate state, that's where you make decisions. The only way the commitment and the energy and the momentum continues is if you take immediate, massive what, my friend? Massive action is the cure-all. Massive action is the cure-all.
That's how you develop yourself. That's how you begin to appreciate what you get. When you're working on a dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. And the transition is what you are becoming in pursuit of the dream. Because even if you don't get the dream, you become such a strong and powerful person. It will so change your life, you can look at something else and say, well, I think I'll go do this then. Because you have now developed yourself in such confidence and such competence in how to deal in the arena of life that you can move into another area and not miss a beat. Once you begin to discover who you are, then you really realize how you have been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including all the dimensions of your life. But you can only do that through the struggle of life. And most people avoid the struggle. Most people go through life avoiding pain. And when you go through life like that, something in you dies. Something in you that you never activate is lying dormant in there, that you never get a chance to call on because you have not challenged yourself. Somebody said the land of familiarity belongs to the dead. That most people like to feel like they're a king in the area of their comfort zone. They only want to do those things that they know how to do well. Osborne said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. So if you want to begin to grow, you've got to put something out here that you can't reach easily, that has got to make you stretch, got to make you jump for it, got to make you get back a little bit and dig in so that you can take a leap for it. And maybe you jump up there and you miss it and you skin your knees and you come back again and you bust your lip next time. But you keep on, and through that process, you learn how to leap higher. You start challenging yourself to dig deeper, and then you discover some things about you that you don't know right now. Some talents that you have in you that you didn't know that you can do. If you want to begin to make your stuff happen for you, I think that it's very important that you start trusting yourself. Listen to yourself. Listen to that still small voice within you. Don't try and make everything logical. There's some things about life that defies logic, that you just can't explain how the outcome is going to be. I think that's why Paul said you've got to learn how to walk by faith and not by sight. That once you begin to trust yourself and your ideas and your instincts, life takes on a whole new meaning, because now I want you to do that feeling that you are led. Just feel, I am led. Ladies and gentlemen, don't give your power away. You don't need anybody to approve your dream. It was given to you. If they can't see it, it's because it wasn't given to them. It was given to you. Hold it, nourish it, cultivate it, work on it. It's yours. It's your baby. Work on it until it comes into fruition. I gave away my power, and I said, I'm not going to do that no more. Here's something else for those who make it today. Do what you know is right. Treat people like you want to be treated. Don't try and take any shortcuts. Don't try and cheat. Pay your dues up front. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, what goes around comes around. You can pay now, or you will pay double later. So do the right thing. There might be a tendency sometimes, because of the negative part of our consciousness and our own programming, for us to want to say, well, I'll just do it this time. It won't matter. Won't nobody know. Ladies and gentlemen, everything matters. And you know you're somebody. You know. I'd rather lose out on my dream doing the right thing than to cheat trying to make a shortcut to get to my goal. I want to be able to look myself in the mirror. And that's what you want to do. There's no saying, judge a man not by what he does, but by that he doesn't have to do. And to judge the true quality of a man is what do you do when nobody's looking. See, there's some good out there for you in the universe that has your name on it. And nobody can get your good. It has your name on it. They can't take your stuff. It's your stuff. So when you know that whatever you're seeking, it's also seeking you. You don't worry. You don't run scared. You don't think somebody's going to take it from you. You listen to your inner voice, and you always take the high road. There will be the tendency, the natural inclination to take the low road. You must resist that. Repeat after me, please. I will always take the high road. And do the right thing. No matter what.
Take action. Not hasty if it isn't required, but don't lose much time. Here's the time to act. When the idea is hot and the emotion is strong. That's the time to act. Say, Mr. Ron, I'd like to have a library like yours. See if you feel strong about that. What you got to do is get the first book and then get the second book. Before the feeling passes and before the idea gets dim, action pronto. Action immediate. Action as soon as possible. Because if you don't, here's what happens. We call it the law of diminishing intent. We intend to when the idea strikes us. We intend to when the emotion is high. But now if you don't translate that into action fairly soon, now the intent starts to diminish. And a month from now it's cold. A year from now, can't be found. So act. Set up a discipline when the emotions are high and the idea is strong and clear and powerful. That's the time to set up the discipline. Somebody talks about good health and you're stirred. Right. I need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes and before the emotion gets cold. Go for the book. Start the library. Start the process. Fall on the floor. Do some push-ups. Action. Got to take action. Otherwise, the wisdom is wasted. Otherwise, the emotion soon passes. Unless you put it into a disciplined activity. Capture it. Disciplines is called how to capture the emotion and how to capture the wisdom and translate it into equity. Discipline. Now here's what's important about discipline. All disciplines affect each other. In fact, here's a good philosophical phrase. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone. Don't be naive in saying, well, this doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. There are some things that matter more than others, but there isn't anything that doesn't matter. Key to take home. Every letdown affects the rest of your performance. Every letdown affects the rest. This is part of the educational process on personal development. If you don't take the walk around the block, you probably won't do the apple a day. If you don't do the apple a day, you probably won't start building your library. If you don't build your library, you probably won't keep a journal, and you won't take pictures, and you won't do this, you won't do wise things with your money, won't do wise things with your time, won't do wise things with your possibilities and relationships, and the first thing you know, 6 years of that accumulated, and we say you have messed up. So the whole key to reversing that process now is to start picking up these disciplines. Now here's the positive side. Every new discipline affects the rest of your disciplines. Every new one affects the rest. That's why action is so important. The least action, the smallest action. Take it. Because when you start accomplishing and the value starts to return from that one action, it'll inspire you to do the next one and the next one and the next one. You start walking around the block, it'll inspire you to get an apple. Get an apple, it'll inspire you to get a book. Get a book, it'll inspire you to get a journal. Get a journal, it'll inspire you to grow, develop some skills. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack and set up the new. And you've started a whole new life process. Also, one more thought on discipline. Here's the greatest value of discipline. Self-worth, self-esteem. People are teaching self-esteem these days, but they don't connect it to discipline. The least lack of discipline. And it starts to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to just ease up a little bit. Right? The slightest lack of doing your best starts to erode the psyche. Instead of doing your best, doing just a little less than your best. Sure enough. You say, well, it's just going to affect my sales. No. It's going to affect your consciousness. It's going to affect your philosophy. Now you've begun in the slightest way to affect your own philosophy. Here's the problem with the least neglect. Neglect starts as an infection. And if you don't take care of it, it becomes a disease. And one neglect leads to another. And the worst of all, when neglect starts, it diminishes our self-worth, our self-confidence, our self-value. You say, well, how can I get back my self-respect? I'm telling you, you don't have to go to 29 classes. All you have to do is start the smallest discipline that now corresponds to your own philosophy, like I should, and I could, and I will. No longer will I let neglect stack up on me so that I will have the sorry scenario 6 years from now, giving some excuse instead of celebrating my progress. That's the key to discipline. Okay? Let's get kids involved in the least of disciplines. One more, and then one more, and then another one, and then another one, and then some more. And the first thing you know, you're starting to weave the tapestry of a disciplined life into which you can pour more wisdom and more attitude and more strong feeling, more faith and more courage. Now you've got something, a vessel in which to put it. And now the equities start to flow. And the early return, I'm telling you, if you'll start this process, the early return will have you so excited. You'll commit yourself to this strategy for the rest of your life. You'll never go back to the old ways. Join a new crowd. Join a new group. The disciplines to do it. Take action. I recommended the last time I was here, the little book, Richest Man in Babylon, and I said, I've lectured now to over 3 million people in the last 33 years, and I've recommended this little book to almost all of them, I think. Guess how many have actually gone and got this little book? Answer, very few. My best guess is 10%. Such an easy thing to do. In that last seminar, right, I suggested this little book, number one, is easy to find. Number two, it's easy to buy. The most you can pay for it, $6, $7, $8. You can borrow that from your kids. And number three, it's easy to read. It's in story form. That's why I use it for teenagers, teaching them how to be rich by 40, 35 if you're extra bright, much sooner if you find a unique opportunity. But if it's easy to find and easy to buy, and if it's easy to read, why wouldn't everybody go get it? We don't know. What do you know? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Here's how profound it is. Some do and some don't. Now here's the numbers. About 10% do. 90% don't or won't. We don't know the mystery of that. And I'm telling you, 10 years from now, those numbers will still be the same. 10% will, 90% won't. The numbers don't change. Only the faces change. You're looking at one of the faces. I used to belong to the 90%. who couldn't be bothered even if it was easy.
I want to demystify the idea that change is a challenge. The power of positive thinking never resonated with me. And when I was young and I was 18 years old and I'd drop out of college and I was diagnosed with an initial diagnosis of cancer, and it turned out to be shingles and a number of other things, I did start to understand quickly that, well, I don't know if positive thinking works all the time and that the data is anecdotal. I do know that negative thinking does work, and it works negatively. And one of the things is I would start at Alabama and I would start with the Jacksonville Jaguars and I would start with the Miami Dolphins. I started to realize, and even looking back to a young age, that nobody wants to be told to be positive. That positive thinking is probably the number one reason this industry has not grown in my 44 years of living. Positive thinking in many cases repulses people. You're telling me to be positive and I'm going through a divorce. You're telling me to be positive and I threw 3 interceptions. You're telling me to be positive and I got to deal with this president. You're telling me to be positive and I got this current situation. You're telling me to be positive and I got this health situation. So then what's the alternative? Well, the alternative has always been negative. So when we would get to the University of Alabama, you have this finite window of time. How long could you influence? Everything comes down to influence. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Whether it's your family, your kids, whatever the circumstance or the situations. So the NCAA gives you 22 hours to influence your players over a week. And so when you look at the human performance, you look at nutrition, you look at strength and conditioning, you look at fatigue science, you look at all these different things. Coach Saban believed that there had to be some emphasis on psychological education. And so how are we going to do that, and how is it going to be efficient? Well, most people think of sports psychology as treating somebody who has a problem. Nick Saban didn't look at it that way. He looked at, how do we make our best players better? How do we take great players and make them greater? And then how do we have an educational platform for all 120 players? And a college football team is a business. It's 120 employees, and you lose 35% of those employees every year. And it's an EBITDA-driven business where when you succeed, you get more sponsorship, and as you get more sponsorship, you make more money, and as you make more money, the school makes more money, and everybody benefits. And it all happens from winning. But if your best players leave every year in that 35% and they take their great behaviors and their great habits and their great mindset with them, then you're in trouble. So you have to develop programmatics. You have to develop a system. I mean, you look at Quest and what you guys did, that ultimately when you were going to sell it or you're going to evolve, that there had to be, if we're going to create the ultimate metabolic type of food, or we're going to limit, like, the recipe has to be the same, so you're not the only one that can cook it. So ultimately, psychologically, we had to come up with a plan for everybody. I think that learning how to meditate and regulate your breath is important, but to me, I think that's AP chemistry, and we need an 8th grade version where we just know, okay, that there's a table of elements, and we need the basics. And so that's what we did. When we started to study, what we learned was that negative thinking was the most powerful element that our players were combating. That negative thinking was weaponizing them against them. So how's negativity carried? Well, is it your internal thoughts? Well, if you're dealing with trying to change internal thoughts, then you got to go to affirmations, and you got to go to imagery, you got to go to visualization. Very difficult skills. Well, we started to look at the externalization. Well, if somebody says something out loud, it's 10 times more powerful than if they think it. And then as we started to study the data, particularly data that was just reinforced by Christine Porath from Georgetown and Harvard, that negativity is a multiple of 4 to 7 times more powerful than positivity. So think about that. If I say something out loud, it's 10x. If it's negative, it's 4 to 7 times more powerful. So when I say negative things out loud, it's 40 to 70 times more likely that that will happen or cause a result that won't be good for me than if I just didn't say anything. Where Buckner was interviewed 12 days before the World Series, and he said, the dreams are to win, to win the World Series, and the nightmare would be for me to let the game-winning run score on a ground ball through my legs. And then ultimately that's exactly what would happen. Now, by saying that out loud, what did he do? He didn't make it happen, but he increased the probability. And this is what I want people to understand. Your internal thoughts are all over the place. I think that what he did is a subconscious plant. By verbalizing it and knowing that it's 10 times more powerful, he's planting it in his subconscious. He doesn't want it to happen, but it becomes something that's ultimately on his mind, and he gave it more power by verbalizing. There's another great story that I saw from a magazine called Success Unlimited in 1973. A guy is hired to fix a refrigerated boxcar in back of a train. He goes into the train, he panics, gets himself locked inside the boxcar. So now he's pounding on the door, there's nothing to do. He starts to panic and thinks he's gonna freeze to death. He finds a pen, he starts writing down, Tom, what's going through his mind, and he writes down, I'm becoming colder. As people, one of the things we do to ourselves is observe and report. I'm not playing well, I'm having a bad day, we're having a bad quarter, my marriage isn't going well. We observe and report. Still colder now, he writes, nothing to do but wait. Half asleep, I can hardly write. Finally, he says, these might be my last words. And I'll show you the article. They open up the boxcar many hours later and they find him and he's dead. But the temperature inside the boxcar was 56 degrees. The freezing apparatus was broken. There was plenty of air in the boxcar. There was no physical reason for his death. The best they could say is somehow he talked himself into dying. And as you know, the book covers the psychogenic death in and around the Korean War. When the Korean War, 1/3 of all American POWs died, and they said that one of the things that was done in the POW camps was the negativity. They manufactured articles about the United States being bombed. They withheld all positivity. They didn't give them any mail. Believe it or not, there are regulations for POW camps throughout the world. And ultimately, they filled up these healthy American soldiers with all this doubt. A priest would end up calling it give-up-itis. And healthy American soldiers, over a period of days, would walk over to a corner, sit down, and die of broken hearts. Well, my dad had gone to a Toastmasters early on and heard one of the most successful magazine entrepreneurs in the world speak. He comes back and tells me, I just had a chance to hear one of the most successful magazine entrepreneurs in the world speak. And he said, when are you taking your SAT? I said, I'm taking it next year. He said, well, this guy was failing out of high school. He was struggling. He was raised by a single mom in the Midwest, but he promised his mother he would take a test called the SAT. So he takes the SAT in May, his junior year, doesn't expect anything, gets his score back in June. Now the SAT, which I don't know how many your population know, but it's a standardized test with a math part and a verbal part. Both are scored out of 800 points. Well, this guy takes it, he's bombing, he's failing out of school, he doesn't expect anything as he's telling the story at Toastmasters. Well, he gets a 1480 out of 1600. But it's a hard test, and it's a variety of different things. So he gets the score, and his mother, doing what any mother would do, knowing her kid, says, did you cheat? Right? She knows her son, and he says, I swear to God, I tried to cheat, but the way the numbers were and the scantrons and the bubbles, you couldn't cheat. So she says, you mean to tell me you really got that score? He said, yeah, I got the score. So he's stunned, Tom. So as my dad's telling me the story, I'm like, okay. So he says, all right. So what he decides is, because he realizes he's smart and he's going into his senior year, he says, I'm going to go to class. Now he starts to go to class. He doesn't hang out with who he did when he didn't go to class. All right. Teachers see him in class and they said, hey, maybe Franklin Pierce, maybe we missed the boat on this kid. So they start to treat him differently. Well, as the guy would tell the story, he graduates, goes to a community college, goes on to Wichita State, goes on to the Ivy League, and becomes this massively successful magazine entrepreneur. So I said, okay, well, the guy was always smart. He just needed a standardized test to unlock it. My dad said, no, that's not the story. This is what I want you to understand. He said, 12 years after all this guy's success, he gets a letter in the mail from Princeton, New Jersey. Doesn't think anything about it. The next day, his wife says, you're going to open it. He opens it. True story, turns out the SAT board will periodically review their test-taking procedures and the policies. The year he took the test, he was one of 13 people sent the wrong SAT score. His actual score was a 740. And he said, people think my whole life changed when I got the 1480. But what happened? My whole life changed when I started acting like a 1480. And what does a 1480 do? He goes to class. Well, this is one of the first stories I would share when I had my opportunity at Alabama, Florida State, or Georgia. So A, your language is powerful, but number two, your behavior is way ahead of your success. And so many people let their feelings dictate what they do, as opposed to throw your behavior out there. What I do, not how I feel about my past, is going to determine who I am in the future. And that's what I think neutral thinking is. And I think neutral thinking isn't just thinking, I think it's behavior. And I think it's language. And so your behavior is what's going to change you. But you also have to start by asking yourself, what do I want and why do I want it? Why don't I have it? You know, what am I willing to do to get it? And I think that that's the level that we need to educate people. I hope It Takes What It Takes basically is an introduction to self-help. What are the things that are in our control? What we watch when we get home, what we listen to when we're in our car, who we talk to when we get on our cell phone, and what we say out loud always as we speak. And I think that those are the powerful things, and ultimately our behavior is what's going to define our success. If we could just learn how to not be negative, how to not externalize negative, then ultimately that would help them more than ever trying to be told to be positive. There's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. Thinking you have an infinite amount of choices is idiotic. And this generation right now, Generation Z and Generation Y, both think they can do whatever the fuck they want to do and still achieve things. You can achieve whatever you want to do in many cases if you're willing to get behind the behaviors that drive that success. But it won't be anything. Pete Carroll for the Seahawks, he'll let you go to bed at 5 in the morning if you want, as long as you can perform to a 9.5 standard when you get there. Okay? Well, what you're going to figure out is you can't go to bed at 5 in the morning. Okay? So you're going to have to adapt your behavior to get in alignment with winning behaviors. So the illusion of choice is this fact that there are not an infinite amount of choices. There may be options. Yeah, I can get pasta instead of a cheeseburger. But even if I want to maintain a diet or maintain optimal health, then I have to limit how much calorie intake, what type of foods. When I first lost weight, I didn't understand that Gatorade had 800 calories in it. You know, when you drink those 4 Gatorades, even though all you're eating is Lunchables, you're actually like driving all these calories, and it's just, am I doing simple better? And if you want to lose weight, there's a way to do it. If you follow the data and you say stupid shit out loud, ultimately you're predicting and perpetuating exactly what you don't want to have happen. And who's always in control of what Tom Bilyeu says? You're always in control of what you say. People say, yeah, but I can't. The thinking, everybody's fucked up in the thoughts. I've been with people the night before Super Bowl, the night before national championships, 8 different times where the doubt's there, but we're not externalizing it. And then I'll have people say, well, what, do you want me to lie? I'm not telling you to lie. I'm telling you that if you look at the information and you say, I don't want to be here today, I hate this job, God dang, or you look at Mohamed Sanu, they're up 28-3 in the Super Bowl playing against Tom Brady, and he looks at his friend and says, hey man, they still got Tom Brady on their side, there is no lead that's safe. Well, fuck, why are you saying that? You know, and you're almost predicting that that's what's going to happen. Now, ultimately, not saying stupid things out loud is, you have to create an alternative. So I started thinking about a car. If a car's going backwards, it can't automatically go forward. So it has to shift into neutral, and then it stops. Then at that point, you can either go forward by changing your behavior, or you can go backwards by doing the same stupid shit you were just doing. Neutral is truth-based thinking. What's the truth?
There's something in each and every one of you that waits and listens to the voice of the genuine in yourself. It will be perhaps the only guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, all of your life, your days will be spent on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. And I say to you, the reason you showed up, even though you couldn't afford to be here, the reason you drove hundreds of miles, flew around the world, there's something in you, in your heart of hearts, that said, I'm not going to let anybody pull my strings. It said, I'm going to control my own personal economy. It said, I've got a dream I want to achieve. I want my children to have a choice of the kind of education that they want. That said, I am the captain of my ship. That said, I'm going to control my destiny. As you look at yourself, as you look at your goals, and look at your dreams, it's very important that you take time every day and write this down to retrain your thinking. You got to retrain your thinking. Because how we live our lives is a result of the story that we bought into. I had to retrain my thinking because of what I saw. Studies indicating that the decisions we make in life is directly related to the things that we saw, the things that we experienced, the conversations we've been exposed to between age 0 and 5. I'm saying this is a time more than ever that you want to begin to inoculate yourself with positive words, coming to conventions, showing up on meetings, being on the calls, to make yourself unstoppable, to get out of your mind the polluting negative thoughts that's causing most people to go through life being stuck because they're volunteer victims. Somebody said that many people die at age 25 and don't get buried until they're 65 because they got so much garbage in their minds. You are here because you've got a clear vision of what you want and where you're going. Don't try and convince people to do this business. A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You are not like everybody else. You can walk outside and find pigeons, but if you're looking for eagles, it's going to take you a minute. You are different. It's lonely at the top. You're different. One great entrepreneur said, I choose not to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon if I can. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dulled by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to live from hand to mouth. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the still calm of utopia. I will never cower before any master, nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to face the world boldly and say, this I have done. You showed up because you're building a business that you can stand and say, I did this. I did this.
Fail big. That's right. Fail big. Today's the beginning of the rest of your life, and it can be very frightening. It's a new world out there. It's a mean world out there, and you only live once. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give myself a goal every day. Sometimes it's just to not curse somebody out. Simple goals, but have goals. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline, which you have already done, and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. And in this text, tweet, twerk world that you've grown up in, remember, just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Remember that. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. My mother told me, she said, yeah, because you can run in place all the time and never get anywhere. So continue to strive, continue to have goals, continue to progress.
Don't just listen to this stuff. Don't just listen to this stuff. Apply. You could be what you want to be. You could have what you want to have. You could do what you want to do, man.
When you are doing everything in your power to be the best makeup of yourself, there's always going to be an adversary that's going to try to take that away from you. Now, the best way you can overcome this is having the faith. Now, it doesn't matter what you believe in, as long as it's something that's positive, that's going to get you through it. A lot of people don't have that ability to be strong. And I'm not talking about the physical aspect of strength. I'm literally talking about the mental and, of course, spiritual aspect of strength. And it takes a lot of work to be able to get through these challenges that we all have to face. You have to look at a lot of circumstances that most of us are all going through from time to time. Some people are stronger than others. This is very true. You may even hear the thing that is easy said than done. Nothing should be easy. If it's easy, it's not going to be worth doing. So many people love to have the opportunity to find the easy way out and celebrate something that they never really worked hard to get. It gives you an opportunity to appreciate the challenges more, the letdowns, the failures. It gives you more ammunition so when you do eventually get to where you want to be, just in case that moment comes and you get knocked back down, you understand what it feels like, and you know you're not going to stay down for very long because you know what that ground feels like, and it's hard. It won't move, but you can. So remember that. When you're down, find a way to get up. So continue to be the best makeup of yourself. Don't worry about trying to be like other people. We can learn a little thing, some things from people. We can try to absorb information from people, but at the end of the day, you got to be the best makeup of yourself.
When you begin to understand and acknowledge your fear, and you go forth anyhow, you go forth in a spirit and a knowing that there's a way that you can begin to handle this. There's a way out here somewhere. There's a solution. What it is that you're seeking, that you have the capacity to whatever comes up, to handle it, to face it. And rather than feeling powerless, you begin to feel powerful. See, when all of the major downsizings that are taking place around this country, there are a lot of people who are biting their fingers in fear that they might lose their jobs. But there are few people who have decided within themselves, I'm going to make it. Some people aren't waiting to be cut. Some people are moving on their own because they feel within themselves, I've got what it takes to make it.
There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
For every situation you confront, there is a strategy that will bring you out.
The only thing that's going to make you happy is to step up. It's to raise the standard. It's to discover what you're capable of and feel that incredible power of pushing through whatever's holding you back and get to the other side of more of your true self.
I don't care if you have to inch your way day by day and it hurts and nobody can see what you're really going through. If you don't quit, the pit will become your platform. I'm telling somebody right now, your lowest moment will be the place of your greatest testimony.
You got more than you think. You can do more than you think. You can go further than you think. You can have more than you think. And stop blaming somebody else over what you don't have. It's time for you to know what you got in your hand.
If you take a minute and look at your life, every time you're about to step into new territory, all hell breaks loose and sends a storm to stop you from getting there.
The situation that you're dealing with right now will come to pass. It will come to pass. It came to pass. Get over it. Don't worry about it. Don't build a house in it. It will not last. You will still be standing there telling your children, I remember the time I thought I was going to die, but some kind of way we made it out of that. This will come to pass.
When you step into your fears and continue to push yourself to go on, it will enable you to transcend yourself.
I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of time. I lost a lot of money, but I was still believing. Down on my knees, I was still believing. Broke, I was believing. Lonely, I was believing. Betrayed, I was still believing.
You gotta toughen up, and you gotta stand still, and you gotta gird up the loins of your mind, and you gotta take a defensive stand against the enemy, against the spirit of give up, against the spirit of human reasoning, and you gotta stand there and protect and preserve your heart and those unborn things that are inside of your spirit. You gotta fight to protect them.